Good day. That's good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome everyone to today's session of our Regional Radio Communications Seminar for the Americas. This is being hosted by the ITU in collaboration with the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, the CTU. I'm Nigel Casimir, the telecommunications specialist at the CTU Secretariat based in Port of Spain, Trinidad. And before we get started with this seminar program itself, I'd like to share with you a few tips so that you can participate successfully. First thing is, next time you log in to the webinar, please be sure to sign in with your information in this order: first name, last name, organization, and country. You can use abbreviations for your organization and country. And as an example, you can see I have signed in myself as Nigel Casimir, CTU, and TT for Trinidad and Tobago, using the two-digit country code top-level domain representation for Trinidad and Tobago. We ask this so that you can be easily identifiable for entry to the seminar, and also for posing questions and for any interventions. During the presentations, we ask that you post your questions in the Q&A box in order for them to be seen and efficiently addressed. We'll be looking in the Q&A box for your questions. This Q&A box is accessible by clicking the Q&A button located at the bottom of your Zoom window. Using the Q&A is especially important for this seminar because there are hundreds of persons participating, and hence there are limited opportunities for verbal interventions. There is also the chat button, and use the chat button for sharing general comments and information with panelists and or with attendees. The default setting for chat is to all panelists only, so be sure to select your desired recipients when entering your comments in the chat box. There's a little selection that you can make at the top of the area where you enter your chat. The presentation slides are and would be posted on the event webpage on the ITU website. And in fact, the presentation slides for this session today have been a bit updated as compared to what was there last week. And there might even be some further updates taking place during the session today. So just be aware that the latest versions of the presentation slides are always available on the event at the ITU's event website. The presenters would let you know, however, whether any further updates would be made. The recordings of the sessions have been made, and we are just going through some, or should I say, approval processes with ITU to make sure that when they are made available according to the wishes of the ITU, who's providing the major content. So you should hear something on that during the course of today. So now I think, having done all this logistical type introduction, we can go into the material of our seminar today. And today we generally have a workshop being presented by the Space Services Department of the Radio Communication Bureau of the ITU. And during today's sessions, between now and like 12:15, we will have presentations from Ms. Ellie Wong from Space Services, as well as Mr. Akim Faludine. And that we'll be hearing from both of them before the break. And after the break, we'll be hearing again from Mr. Tong Pham Viet, whom we heard from last week, and also Mr. Jorge Chicorosi, who we also heard from last week. So without further ado now, I will introduce our first speaker for today, and this is Ms. Ellie Wong from the Space Services Department, and she would be talking to us about the receivability of space notices. So Ellie, all yours.
Yes. Let me share my screen now.
Yes.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, very well.
I will minimize this one first. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Nigel, for your organization and give us such kind of very good opportunity to let us communicate with industries, with students, with everybody in such kind of webinar. Thank you very much. So in this session, I will concentrate on the ITU regulatory procedures concerning the receivability for A, C, and N filings. So I hope after this session, you can understand what's meaning by A, C, and N here. And then I will talk a little bit about WRC 19 decisions, which I thought maybe my colleagues have had introduced during this webinar before. So here it's just some small information here to highlight. And then I will give you some free information online, which related with the filing submissions. Okay, I would like to start from the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, which was launched in 1957 on October 4th, because from that day, from this satellite, it's triggered the space race. And up to now, the satellite is really play more and more important roles in every aspect. And it have been widely used for academic education, research, technology validation, also for complex science development and government use and so on. So it's more and more important. And the satellite becomes more and more smaller. To build the satellite is more and more faster. And satellite now is more cheaper and easier and better. When we talk about when we say it's better, because with the low latency right now, and also the efficiencies, and it's lighter to launch and so on, it's more easy for countries to connect the space. And also it gave us the drawbacks from some time, because we have limited launching opportunities. And sometimes once the satellite became more and more small, the orbital control is not easy to do well. And the unreliable power source on spacecraft and low reliability electronics, limited lifetime, and so on. There are many challenges for the developers, for the operators, and also for the regulators, because when the satellite becomes more and more small and more, how to say, a complex system, the development is very fast. The operation, some kind of new operational concepts come up, like the 1,000 constellations, very complex system, but used for global coverage, and so on, like SpaceX or OneWeb, everybody knows from the world. But sometimes it's overwhelm our regulators. So we need to study the details, we need to improve and update with them together. So in ITU Radio Communication Assembly 15, we have the resolution to invite administrations to inform their national entities, which including also the nanosatellite and picosatellite, to apply the filings and their national regulatory provisions, to encourage the national entities to initiate the relevant ITU registration procedures. This is the administration's obligations. So as long as you have a satellite, how to say, there's a project to launch a satellite in the sky, you want to use some space service, then please register in the ITU. So we hope when you have such kind of idea or project, you can have also those regulatory books in your hands. This is redo regulations, like the WRC final acts, last year, WRC 19 final acts, or rules of procedure, recommendations, resolutions, and so on. All these kind of regulatory resources is right now it's all free download on the website, on our website. So if you want your satellite project to be recognized in the whole world, to get the international protection from the whole world, then you must register your system in the ITU MIFR master registration. Here we are talking about ACN. A means API, Advanced Publication Information, and C means CR or CRC, sometimes we call it. It's request for coordination. The difference between A and C is subject to coordination or not. If the frequency band and the class of service what you are going to use is not subject to coordination, then you submit the API filing first, and then submit the notification. And if the bands and the service you are using is subject to coordination procedure under the redo regulations, then you submit CRC filing first, and then go to the notification directly. So the system became like this, from A to N or from C to N. Or maybe you have a big satellite system. Inside the system, some parts is not subject to coordination, then you submit the A filing. And some parts subject to coordination, then you submit the C filing. And after that, during the notification stage, you can merge the A and C into one notification. So this is, to be simple, it's our ITU regulatory procedures for registration. I will start from the API. Such as for API, for the cases which are not subject to coordination, after you submit your API information, in general, within 1 week, we will publish the API as received immediately from our website. And in 2 months, we will publish the whole API special section in our BRIFIC. So before this request is 3 months. Normally, in general, we publish the API in 3 months. From after WRC 19, the new decision making from 1st of January 2021, this period is reduced from 3 months to 2 months. So now we are trying to publish every API submission within 2 months immediately. And then after we publish the API special section, we can accumulate all the comments from other administrations for potential interference situation. We will publish such kind of comments within 4 months in API-B special section in the BRIFIC. And after that, you can submit your notification and bring into use those assignments, launch your satellites. So this is the whole procedure. When you want to launch a satellite, you submit API and then you submit notification. But between API and the notification, the time between API and notification, before it's 6 months. Right now, after 1st of January 2021, it will be 4 months, which means you can submit these 2 kinds of filings at the same time. But the notification will be considered, the official data received will be 4 months or 6 months after. So, which also means even you submit both filings at the same time, you lose 4 months and 6 months. There's no benefit during this period. And the maximum is 7 years. Any filing starts from API, you must have a notification in 7 years. If you didn't submit the notification within 7 years, your API will be canceled. So API is a mandatory procedure for a satellite network which are not subject to coordination procedure. To know whether a frequency band and a service is subject to coordination or not, you have to read the footnote, you have to read the table of frequency allocations and include all those footnotes relevant with redo regulations, inside redo regulations. Here are 2 examples, such as if you read something is subject to coordination under number 9.11a or under number 9.21, which means it's subject to coordination. Then for such kind of use, you have to submit the CRC, the coordination. Other than that, in general, such as all the GSO, if it's a GSO filing, almost all the GSO filing is subject to coordination. But if a GSO is communicate with an NGSO system, and the NGSO part, which is not subject to coordination, then for this space-to-space link, inter-satellite service, inter-satellite link, you have to submit API. As we just have said, for API, there are 4 months period for comments. To submit your comments, you have to use SwissCom software. I think our colleague is introduced for that software also. And then we publish in the API B for the comments. Here, I highlighted a little bit for resolution of difficulties. So we need all parties to cooperate with each other. And if you do need help, you can request for assistance from the Bureau. And also, every party actually shall explore all possible means to resolve the potential difficulties. And by means of mutually acceptable adjustments to their networks to make possible efforts to resolve. This is written in the radio regulations. For modification of API, only the 3 situations, these 3 scenarios, we said it's mandatory for API modification. When you add new frequency bands in your satellite system, and when you want to modify the direction of transmission, such as the frequency band you submitted before, but before you submitted for transmitting beam, and now you want to use for receiving beam, then you change the direction of that frequency band. You need to submit a modification for API. And also for NGSO system, if you change the reference body, definitely everything changed. You need to submit a new API as a modification. For other kinds of modification, actually you can go directly to a notification stage. But we also say, we always say we encourage administration to do the modifications at the API stage, because at this stage you can let outside people to know your system as soon as better. The sooner the better, then you can get the feedback of those kind of comments. You can have an idea about your system for potential interference comments to resolve the issue as early as possible. And of course, during the notification stage, if there are some other kinds of change, like orbit parameters or service area and so on, administration also can submit their comments following the notification procedures in the Part 1S stage. If you check some notification filing, you are not agree with what they submitted, you also need to make your comments. Here is for the API submission, if you need submit some diagrams, this is the new decision after WRC 19. Every diagrams need to be submitted in the GIMS database. So even it's just a picture or image, you can use the GIMS, the BR software, to capture the picture inside for API for non-GSO system. Here below there's a link. We provided the guideline on how to capture the diagrams for the non-GSO API in the website. And this is also after WRC 19, whenever you want to submit a filing or satellite network to the ITU, don't forget to submit the additional data items required in the revised Appendix 4, because those kind of new data items which is not merged in our SpaceCap structures. It's not in the database yet. So we ask administration to provide such additional information in a form. So don't forget to submit this form as an attachment also from now on until the new database is released. It's under development right now. such as for API, there's a big form. Here, I didn't put every information here, but for the API additional data item required, these three is mandatory. The first one is resolution 32. I will talk about that a little bit later. So no matter you are short duration missions or not, you have to provide the information here. If it's not, just provide no, N. And if it's yes, you provide Y here. And an indicator of an NGSO which represents a constellation. It's a constellation or not. We also need you provide yes or no. And the indicator of space station uses sun-synchronous orbit or not. We also need you to provide yes or no. So here I emphasize, if it's not related, you have to put N in the table. You couldn't leave it N/A, which means not applicable. All these items is applicable for every notice. So every case is applicable. You must provide N, not NA, something like that. In our website, for the additional data required and the revised Appendix 4, there are many other informations. This is just an example for the API. You also can find it for coordination and find it for notification and so on. For coordination, this chart tells you the coordination procedure in ITU for satellite network. So if the bands you are using is subject to coordination, similar like API, you submit coordination directly. We publish as received immediately. And then we will extract the information from your CRC and publish the APIC immediately. And within 4 months, we will publish the whole CRC in a special section. And after that 4 months period for comments, we will accumulate all comments and publish in the CRD and CRE special sections for the comments. And also within 7 years, you have to submit notification, due diligence information, and bring into use. For example, for every CRC filing, you must submit the notice database by using SpaceCap, and then submit the diagrams database by using the GIMS software. And then you use our BRIFIC validation to do the validation and cross-validation to validate these 2 databases you provided and make sure it's complete and correct. Make sure there's no fatal errors. If there are some errors you can't solve, which you thought maybe you need help from the Bureau, you can illustrate in your cover letter as an attachment, or you can put an administration's note for that kind of case. In order to establish a formal date of receipt, we will check the filing. We will check your filing inter alia with the completeness and correctness of the information submitted. So you should make sure the filing you submitted is complete and correct. Then we will create the formal data receipt. If it's not complete or something not correct, we need to clarify with the administration. We will send you a letter. We will communicate with you, and in general, we will give 30 days for comeback. As long as within the 30 days, if your answer is satisfied, we will keep the original data receipt as what you submitted. But if the mandatory information is missing, and then the formal data receipt will be established after we received the complete information. So there are many rules concerning receivability. For the relevant items, you also need to check rules of procedure sometimes. If it's not very clear for you, check the rules of procedure to see the relevant explanations. So for your response, when we send the letter out, when you need to respond to our letter, you need within the scope of Bureau's inquiry. Then we retain the original data receipt for you. If we ask you the question A and you answer us something like B, and then it's not match, then such kind of new, if it's a new information provided or new data provided, it may cause a new data receipt. And also our inquiry is not satisfied, then after 30 days, we will not retain your original data receipt. And make sure, such as when you submit the coordination filing, then you need to make sure the frequency bands and the service is subject to coordination. This is common. There are many things in this presentation. It's same for API, CRC, and notification. For API also, if you are submit API filing, you need to make sure the frequency bands and service is not subject to coordination. And also, if you are submitting API and CRC, which we call unplanned service, you have to make sure that the service you are using with relevant frequency bands is not subject to a plan. It's not AP 3030 or 30B. That's BSS and FSS plan. So you need to divide the filings to make sure what you submitted is correct. Here, I want to tell you, if the filing you submitted, you think something wrong, or you want to add something which you forgot, or you sent the wrong database, you can withdraw within 15 days, which is possible without cost recovery fee. So within 15 days, if you withdraw from the submission, e-submission system, it's free, it doesn't matter. But just the date of the receipt for your new submission will be the new date. So you just lose the date, you do not need to pay. But if after 15 days, which means it's receivable already, we have started the examination and so on. After 15 days, if you want to withdraw your notice submitted, you still need to pay the cost recovery fee. This is important. So in the RIDI regulations, there are many regulations, provisions, which said you need to submit complete information. So make sure the information you submit is complete. So before you submit, make sure you use the BRIFIC validation to check the database, which there's no fatal errors. To know it's complete information or not, you need to read the whole Appendix 4, unfortunately. Everything required is indicated in the Appendix 4, which is a heavy book. But you need to read the relevant part with the one you want to use. So this is an example of Appendix 4, the items and the explanation, the condition, and so on. It's required for API or notification or CRC and so on. So you need to read the RIDI regulations. And for modifications of coordination notice, of course, when you have a new frequency band, you must submit the modification. And only the new frequency bands will be extracted and published in another APIC publication. If what you submitted is all old existed, which means the frequency band are all existed in the past, then the regulatory date remains same as the old one. We do not publish the APIC for such kind of modification. And then action codes. When you submit a modification for the coordination, make sure you captured correct action codes for notice, for beam, for groups, and for earth stations. So especially for earth stations, from space cap, from the first, maybe my colleague will introduce you in the details. From the first panel, you may not see the action codes for the earth stations, but after you go to the earth stations tab, you will see they have action codes inside. And also you need to indicate for all the diagrams relevant with this modification, it has been modified or not. It's same with the original notice or not. If everything is same, you just need to have a note, to have administration's note, and you do not need to capture them again. So here are some resources, BRIFIC, Space Query, SNS Online, and so on. This is the example. In the left side, it's a SNS database. In the right side, it's a GIMS database. So once you prepared these two databases, you have to use the BRSS validation to do the cross-validation, to also check like service area, regional limitation, AGGSO diagram, and so on. For the GSO, here I emphasized, make sure your inclination is not larger than 15 degrees, and make sure the station keeping tolerance of the space station you have provided for FSS and BSS, which should be smaller than 0.1 degrees and 0.5 degrees for other services. So it's slightly different. This is for GSO coordination. For the GIMS diagrams for GSO, there are three types of diagrams: antenna gain control, service area, and antenna gain towards GSO orbits, which we call AGGSO diagram. So there are three kind of diagrams to be provided inside the GIMS database. For the antenna gain control, make sure you have provided -2, 4, 6, 10, and 20. So those lines are mandatory information as long as it's visible from the Earth. It can be visible on the Earth. And for the stereo beam, you must include the 0 dB relative gain as a line. Let's see if I have the example here. Maybe I have removed. So when you provide the antenna gain control, such as do not give us -2, -4, -10, but -6 is missing, then it's not applicable. This is not good summation. You need to provide -2, 4, 6, 10, which connected each other. You couldn't skip one line in between. And then for the service area, we encourage administration to align the area to the real area you are going to use. Such as if your service area is only in several countries or only in region 3, then do not submit a whole service area as XVE. In this kind of circumstance, you can reduce the coordination also, and also save your power to the useful parts. Then we want to talk about regional limitations, because for different frequency has different allocations in different region. So when the frequency band you are using has regional limitations, make sure it's in complying with the radio regulations. If what you submitted is larger than the service area allocated in Article 5, then we have to split, which means some parts favorable, some parts unfavorable because no allocation. And if it's smaller or equal to the parts allocated, then it's okay. Here is an example page of the table of frequency allocations in Article 5, such as every frequency band and every kind of service, class of service. We have such kind of allocation table allocated into the 3 regions. This is ITU 3 regions. If you are submitting something different with other regions, make sure your service area is inside the region submitted. For the provision 4.4, radio regulation number 4.4 means administrations, if want to use something without allocation, not allocated, they shall not cause harmful interference to and shall not claim protection from harmful interference caused by a station operating in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, Convention, and regulations. So, not cause harmful interference, and you also need to immediately eliminate harmful interference. Such kind of 4.4 is not encouraged by the Bureau for the industry to use. And the revised rules of procedure, I think is revised in 2018. When you have some frequency bands and surveys which you submitted under 4.4, then when you do the notification stage, when you submit notification filing, you shall provide a confirmation that it has determined that these frequency assignments meet the conditions referred to above and has identified measures to avoid harmful interference and to immediately eliminate such in case of complaint. So this is updated recently. If you have such kind of use under 4.4, when you submit notification, you must submit such kind of confirmation from administration also. And also, I want to take this opportunity to let you know if you are relevant with the filing creation, try not to put the different main services in the same groups, because after the examination from the ITU, every group we will give a finding. Every group have one unique finding, either favorable finding or unfavorable finding, and the different provisions and different main service in general has different provisions and different ways for examination. So such as EC and EBEV do not put it in the same group. EI or EBEV also. Here means fixed satellite service and broadcasting satellite service don't put in the same group, or mobile satellite service and broadcasting satellite service, and even mobile satellite service and fixed satellite service, don't put them in the same group. Even you put in the same group, we will do a split when we do the examination, because we might need to give different findings. So we need to split the groups, which means after you submit, when we publish in the BRIFIC, the database is not the database as what you submitted. We do lots of splits, such as based on the different class of station. And also pay more attention about the sub-services, such as mobile satellite service EI, means it includes EOE, JEG, and EJ include E5, E6, and some other similar main service also has their sub-service. Pay more attention when you create your filing. For the space operation service, here we want to emphasize the ET class of station is used for space operation service. But the EKERED is the space operation functions. We are using the EKERED when there is no allocation for space operation service, which means when there's no ET, you can submit EKERED because we treat it as other kind of main service like FSS or BSS. So the ET and EKERED is not the same, it's different. For AGGSO, this is used in a band allocated both in Earth to space direction and in the space to Earth direction. So when it's bidirections, you need to submit this AGGSO diagram. And in our validation tool, it can be checked if you forgot to submit this diagram. They will give you the fatal error that diagram is missing. For antenna pattern, we have an online antenna pattern library. This one is updated whenever there's a need. So if your Earth station and space station have antenna patterns related with those kind of pattern ID, which published in our website, you just indicate the pattern ID as it is. If your antenna pattern is non-standard patterns, which means you didn't find from that APL library, you can submit the equations or tables or explanations and so on. And if the diagrams is not acceptable by the BR's examination software, in our technical examination, by default, it will be, we will use the AP8 antenna pattern for the technical examination. And again, why they provided for this antenna pattern, if you submit a non-standard pattern, you must provide the pattern from 0 to 180 degrees plus minus. The off-axis angle must be the whole directions. For earth station antenna diameter, pay more attention for some frequency bands inside the radio regulations, inside the allocation table for some special frequency bands. The antenna diameter is mandatory information. You do not only provide the antenna gain, you also need to provide the antenna diameter. So this is required for some specific frequency bands and services. When you prepare your filing, please check every frequency bands you are going to submit in details. Here are some examples. Like FSS in 14.5 to 14.8 gigahertz bands. If it's a feeder link for BSS, this is allocated under 5.510 in region 2 only. Then you can submit service area region 2. Do not include region 1 and 3. And if it's not for the feeder link for BSS, then this one can be used under resolution 163 and 164, slightly different frequency bands and in different regions. So make sure when you submit for such kind of application, you need to submit also the commitment and the antenna diameter. The relevant commitment, please read the details. And like the BSS in 21.4 to 22 gigahertz bands, this one in the past we published all these frequency bands in _1, which we called special section CRF. But after 1st of January 2017, the normal procedure and 9.7 for these frequency bands is no longer be splitted into CRF. The CRF is reserved only for administration which ask special procedures under resolution 553. And if you are asking the special procedure under resolution 553, there's no resolution 49. But instead, you need to submit resolution 552. And there's a separate cost recovery fee for that separate notice. This is 21 gigahertz. Relating with 21.16 provision, the PFD limits for steerable beam. This one, pay more attention. You must provide a method described for such 21.16 statement. An example, yes?
Just saying, what's your time?
Oh, I do not have a watch. Yeah, tell me once it's I'm going to, okay, I'm going to go faster. Okay, so the appendix 4, I have said you just check online. Some relevant decisions for some special frequency bands, check the detail provisions, which we provide such kind of presentation in the PDF. I think after you read, you can immediately understand. And for the short duration mission, I think my colleague has introduced you before. Except the 2 bands listed for the space operation service, actually there's no good benefits for that short duration mission. So we do not encourage you to use the short duration mission. Even maybe you are designing a small satellite, you do not need to indicate it's a short duration mission, okay? Because there are many constraints which are illustrated in the presentation. And for the notification, we have 3 publications. Part 1S indicated the information received. Part 2S is the information after examination is favorable finding. And part 3S is returned to the administration with unfavorable finding. When you submit notification, make sure your APIA, CRC, or CRF has been published, has been submitted in very well. And then submit notification in 7 years. If API or CRC is not received, then for our station, if you submit notification for our station, the relevant API and CRC also has to be submitted already. if it's not received or not recorded in the MIFR within the 7-year limit, it will be suppressed. And for the resubmission, make sure for the notice returned in the Part 3S, which has the unfavorable findings, if the reason is under 11.31, then it's not applicable for resubmission. If it's under other provisions like 32, such as you didn't finish coordination or your power level exceed the limits and so on, if based on such kind of information, you can resubmit your notification within 6 months by reduce the power or achieve the agreement with other parties, get coordination agreements. But if it's because of 1131, which means not in conformity with the review regulations with the allocation table, if it's not allocated well, you couldn't submit again. And for any notice under 1141, when you submit notification, you need to indicate to the Bureau that the efforts has been made to effect coordination with relevant parties. Here's some cost recovery information. I think you can read the detail from the web page as I delivered. And then the software issue I will reserve to my colleague. They will give you more detailed relevant information related with that part. Okay, the e-submission, my colleague will go through the details with you also. We publish as received in our online system, and we also have the e-communication system for you to communicate with us to feedback your response. And here are some free online information, the web page. It's all free downloads, so you can get read regulations and so on. By those useful information, I think I close my presentation. Sorry, it's a little bit more than 40 minutes. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
very much.
Yes, there is a lot of information that is provided in slides which will be available. I see a few questions related to the presentation slides. We got an answer about that from their colleague Jorge Chicorosi, and he is saying, don't worry, we'll update and publish the slides on the website by the end of today. So he asked that you try to focus on the presentations. Now,
there are some questions with me.
Right. There is one, I think, substantive question related to your presentation, Ellie, which is from Riza Hosseini in Iran. And is there any procedure for evaluation for submissions network based on subsection 1A, I guess, or IA of Article 9, not subject to coordination before submitting?
Yes, we have the BRSS validation tool to do the validation for such kind of database which is not subject to coordination. And even it's not subject to coordination, when we do the examination, we identify such as if the bands and the service you submitted is subject to coordination or not. We also identify the service area you submitted if it's correct or not. And we do lots of not split, but we do lots of examinations based on the APIA section actually, because right now the non-GSO part, it's very complicated. Every frequency band and service has different kind of use. So please read all the detailed footnotes when you prepare such kind of APIA filings.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ellie. I think we'll move on now to your colleague Hakim, Mr. Hakim Falou Dine, and he'll be
stop sharing
about BRIFIC and the Space Services website. So, Hakim, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you, and we're seeing.
Okay, so I'm Hakim Falou Dine. I work in Space Department, and I'm responsible for the maintenance of the MIFAR, and I'm also in charge of the cost recovery issues, and also in charge of the receivability related to notification of space and air stations. So my presentation will be on BRIFIC and space website. So this is when you open the BRIFIC, this is the view you will see. Then what are the regulations related to BRIFIC? So you can see that there are many regulations related to BRIFIC. So according to the WRC decision, the Bureau is instructed to publish some information on the BRIFIC DVD, like advanced publications. This is 9.2b, or like comments 9.3, or also comment like 941. We also have to publish coordination information, notification information in accordance with Article 11, and information also related to the bringing into use. This is according to Article 1144B, and also information on the suspension of the network. So you can see that in Article 1149. So these information has to be published on the BRIFIC. So this is why we have to produce the BRIFIC every 2 weeks. So what are the regulatory requirements for information to be published on BRIFIC? So on the BRIFIC, you will see the characteristics of satellite networks, earth station or radio astronomy stations, as required in Annex 2 of the Appendix 4. So Appendix 4 is in the Volume 2 of the radio regulation. On this BRIFIC, you can also consult the list of administration with which coordination may need to be effected, and also you will have the status of the finding. Let's say when you send a coordination request or notification request to ITU, you want to know if your assignment will receive favorable finding or not. So you have to consult the BRIFIC to see if your assignment have received favorable finding. That means if they receive favorable finding, they will be recorded in the MIFAR. But if they receive unfavorable finding, they will be returned to you, and you will have the possibility to resubmit or not. In the BRIFIC, you can also find the comments received from administration, and also you will have information on bringing into use and suspension of frequency assignment. So the main features of the BRIFIC is that the BRIFIC is published in 6 languages, in the 6 languages of the Union. So from 2005, we are publishing in Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. So we have the 6 languages. The format, we start with the format of CD-ROM. Then from 2012, we moved to DVD-ROM. Then currently we are using the format dual layer DVD-ROM. But the most important feature, this feature has heavily been used during the COVID-19, is the ISO image of the DVD-ROM, which is available from download from the ITU website. So these are used during the COVID because the Bureau cannot send the physical DVD. So all administration were encouraged to subscribe to these services. So this helped very well during the COVID-19 period. Publications are distributed in PDF format with official ITU logos. And also in this BRIFIC, you can find all the necessary databases needed for your query and examinations. So the content of the BRIFIC, as I said, we have the regulatory publications, special section, part 1, part 2, part 3 for notifications. We also have the database, so IFIC database, SRS database, JIMS database, Appendix 30B and SPS database for plant networks. We have the preface, we have the software used for space services, and we have also the circular letters related to the space services. We can also find on the DVD the cost recovery invoices, the status of the cost recovery invoices, and the SpaceCom files. So this is an extract of the BRIFIC. So you can see that you have the special section, then you have the parts, and you see the cost recovery, the preface, and the circular letters. So for the regulatory publication, you have the part 1 for notification to be recorded in the MFR. First, when we receive a notification, we have to publish it in part 1S, which constitute the acknowledgement of receipt of the notice. Then we will perform the technical examination. If the assignment receive a favorable finding, then it will be published in part 2 and recorded in the MFR. If not, it will be published in part 3 and returned to your administrations. So as I said, we have many special sections: API A, API B for comments on API A. We have CRC, CRF, and we also have comments on this comments on CRC or CRF. We also have special section related to plant networks, and we also have special section related to due diligence information related to the launch services and spacecraft provider. This is resolution 49 or resolution 552. And we also have a special section related to the period of validity. So this is in case you want to extend the period of validity, you have to use this special section called RES4. So BRIFIC is published once every 2 weeks by the Bureau. The publication date is always on Tuesday. So the last one was published on 21st of July, and the next one will be on 4th of August. Generally, we issue 25 DVDs per year, and administration have 4 months to send their comments. And the schedule is available on our website. So the databases distributed on the BRIFIC is IFIC database, SRS Appendix 3038 database, Appendix 30B database, Teams database, and SpaceCom database. So the IFIC MDB database is published on the BRIFIC and is stored in the IFIC data directory. So this file contains Appendix 4 data of satellite networks, Earth station, and radio astronomy station, and their corresponding regulatory finding and coordination requirements. We also have part 1, part 2, part 3. Special sections are also included in this IFIC MDB. So you can use the BRSpace software tool to correctly browse and query the IFIC database, and an archive of all IFIC databases for the current year up to the current IFIC can be found in databases IFIC archive. Don't forget that IFIC MDB is also distributed on the BIA website. Then we have the database related to SRS, so SRS XSX MDB. So the information in the SRS is a snapshot of the MIFA taken at the time of the BRIFIC DVD was produced. So these SRS contain all the information available on the MIFA. So the SRS structure is described in detail in section 3, chapter 1 of the preface. So if you want to understand more about the code used by SRS, you can go on the preface. in order to properly view and query the SRS file, you should install BR SRS space query and space cap or space pub. So the SRS database link file, so from IFIC 2841, in order to address the issue of 2 gigabyte limit of Microsoft Access, so the file, the SRS database has been split into 2 files. We have SRS SSS part 1 MDB and SRS XSS part 2 of 2 MDB. On the IFIC, you will have also the GIMS database, which is the complete graphical interference management system. So here is the information on the graphical on the, let's say, on the contours and on the service area. So this can be found also in the IFIC database. So if you want to see the database related to GIMS, you have to go to database GIMS data directory. GIMS user can choose whether to leave the reference database on the master folder or copy them on a local with a local copy on their PC. So we have also the plan networks. So for Appendix 3030A, you will find them in SPS all IFIX, and for Appendix 30B for FSS, we will find them in databases AP30B, 30B, XXS. SSS means the number of the IFIC. Let's say the next IFIC will be 2925, so you will see 30B underscore 2925. So the MDB, the name of the database will be 30B 2925 MDB. So we also have the output database for Appendix 3030A, and same thing for the Appendix 30B. We also have the output database. So on the BRIFIC, you can see all the software distributed in the Bureau for Space Services. So you will have SAM, Space Cap, Space Pub. So I will have it in my last presentation will be on the software. So we'll go into detail on the software in my last presentation. So you will have also a button called News. In News, the Bureau will put any relevant information concerning the publication or databases to be brought to your attention. And also we have also SNS removal. So in this button, you can see all assignment in coordination API for which notification has been recorded in the MI file. So when the notification is recorded in the MI file, we remove the corresponding API or coordinations. So in the BRIFIC, we also have the cost recovery invoice status. So you will have the free entitlement. So this is the list of nomination of free entitlement. So you are encouraged to check this list to know if your request of free entitlement has been accepted. We also have the total list of invoices issues. So you have to check the invoices issues to know exactly, to take note of the due date, not to have your network cancelled. We also have the overdue invoices. This is the list of invoices that are overdue. BRIFIC also contain the circular letter related to space station, related to space services. So we have the BR Space Services Annual Collection. The collection contains ICAP BRIFIC from 1965 to today. So if you want to have a big collection, you can buy this product. Now I will talk about space services, website, and online services. On our website, you will find information about the bringing into use of the network. So when a network is confirmed, brought into use, we have to, the Bureau, the conference, the radio regulation, instruct the Bureau to make this information available on the ITU website. So that means you can find on our website what the list of the network that are confirmed, brought into use. Same thing for network that are suspending. If you want to see the list of network that are suspending, you can go on our website under 1149, you will see the suspending network. We also have the REST 40 information. We also have REST 55. This is as received. So this is to make available coordination requests and notification requests as received within 30 days of receipt on BI website. So space services website and online, as I say, we have as received, bringing into use suspension, resolution 40. We have now e-submission. So e-submission is very important because when you want to submit a file to ITU, you cannot send it by email. You have to use the tool e-submission. So you have to be registered first. Then you will go through this tool to submit your file to ITU. So we have e-submission. We have CIRS also. This is for interference reporting. And the last tool we have that is very important is the e-communication that helps administration to communicate between themselves or with the Bureau. So this is very important. So many administrations are already using this tool. We also have online query tool, SNL online and SNS online. So other useful web pages are preface to understand the code used in finding or the code used in our publication. You have to go to preface. We also have a useful web page is the BRIFIC. If you want to download the software, the latest version of our software, you have to go on BRIFIC space software. We have the antenna pattern library. All the seminar presentation and document are also on ITU on BIA's website. IFIC data, FSS plan, administrative B, administrative 30 also, cost recovery document and status of invoices can be found also on our website. And change of notifying administration are also there, and addresses of notifying administration. And also, if you want to learn more about small satellite, you can go on our website and go to ITU filing procedure for small satellite. Then you will have a lot of information concerning small satellite on ITU website. So this is just a copy of the ITU website screen. So you see we have the BRIFIC, cost recovery, SNL online, space support, database, SNL, SNS online, the activities. So you can see now we are doing this seminar. So this seminar will be on space activities. So as I said, online services are SNL and SNS online. So and SNS provide access to detailed data of a satellite networks, station and radio transmission that have been published or received by the Bureau. So to use these online services, you will need to have TICE account and to have subscription to these services. But for SNL just give you the list of satellites that have been published or received. This is freely available to all users. So we discussed about the bringing into use, which is very important. So if you want to know if a network is already confirmed, brought into use, you have to check the status. If the status is Y, that means the network is confirmed, brought into use. If not, if it's N, that means it's not yet confirmed, brought into use. So we have the suspended satellite network, resolution 40. This is the page of resolution 40. And this ends my presentation on BRIFIC. So I don't know if you have a question. Okay, can I take a question? Do you have any question?
None yet with respect to this, so you can go ahead to the next one.
Okay, thank you. My next presentation is BIA Space Services Databases. Okay, so we will see the purpose of the BRIFIC databases and software, what is in BIA databases, and the format and the versioning. So why do we have the BIA database and software? The purpose of this is to streamline the implementation of decision and of the radio regulation and rule of procedures. This also helps you to prepare your electronic filing according to the radio regulation and to process the electronic filing to be sent to the bureau. So for this, you need to read the radio regulations. So I mean the radio regulation, the 4 radio regulations. So volume 1, 2, 3, 4. And also you need to complement the radio regulation by reading the rule of procedure. So the role of the rule of procedure is to provide you clarification on the application of some radio regulations. So here is the space network system. So you will see in color we have the software. And in gray we have the databases. So you will see that space query, the interaction between the software and the databases can be seen with these arrows. So you can see that space query will query the capture MDB, the FIC MDB, the SNS MDB, the SPS or Appendix 30B MDB. So we have many. So we have space cap, space val, space com, and GIBC for examination. First, what do we have? We have the SNS databases. So the SNS formatted. In this, we have IFIC MDB, SRS MDB, Capture MDB, and SPS MDB. So the SNS format is alphanumeric data. And we also have the graphical data, which contain GIMS database. So contain GIMS database that give you information about the contours, the GIMS, the contour, the service area, the GSO diagram. And also we have the graphical data related to Earth Station coordination contour. This is for Earth Station. So for this, and we also have the reference data, space reference database. So SNS master database, as I said, you have the capture. Capture is when you are capturing something, you will have an MDB created, which is capture.mdb. And then you have the SRS MDB, IFIC MDB, as I said, and Appendix 30B and SPS MDB. So when we receive filing from administration, this filing will be put in SNS database. So when we receive coordination, notification, and advanced publication or resolution 49, we'll put it in SNS master database. This SRS database is published every IFIC, as I already said in the previous presentation, and is a snapshot of the SNS master database. So we have the IFIC database, which is also published every 2 weeks. It contains part 1, part 2, part 3 related to notification, and also all the special section, API, CRC, CRD, CRE, and CRF. We have we also have the SPS. This is for plan network. So appendix 30 and 30A networks. So this is in SPS MDB. So, and on we also have appendix 30B database, which is the FSS appendix 30B database. As I say, we have the GIMS diagram, which contain graphical data for both plan and non-plan. And we have the Earth Station Coordination Contours database. So I already showed you this slide. So the space reference database is the reference used by everybody to be sure that all the BI software use the same reference database. So this is the important reference used by all the software. So what about the version of, so currently we are using the version 8. So after each WRC, we know that each WRC introduced new resolution and changes to the radio regulations. So after each WRC, we will change the version. Let's say at WRC 2012, the decision taken have been incorporated in version 7 of our software. So after WRC 15, we issued the version 8 of the software used for space services. So now we are working on the next version, because after WRC 19, we are working on the decision taken during these last WRC in Sharm el-Sheikh. So you will have the version 9 of our space services software, so and database. So this will be, I think, from September you will have this version. We have some of this version V9 will be available to you from September, I think. So you will have this version of the last version V9 after WRC 19. So this is the SNS data structure. So you will see that we have three level, many levels. So we have the notice level. So in the notice level, we have what kind of type of satellite are you using? Are you using geostationary satellite, non-GSO satellite, or Earth station? So if you are using GSO satellite, you have to give the orbital position. If you are using non-GSO satellite, you have to provide all the orbital information. And then after this level, we will go to beam level. Beam level will give the antenna, we will give the reference radiation pattern of the beam, or we will give the contours, the coordinate and the contours of the beam, or the GSO and the service, the GSO of the beam. Then we will go to the group level, and in the group level there you can find the frequency assignment, emission, provision, service area, all this. So we see that the SNS data structure have many levels. We have notice level, then you go to beam level, then you go to group level, then you will go to coordination level or associate Earth station level. Oh, this is just a structure. You see, this is a network. So you see the first level is the notice level. So you have the network name and you have the orbital position. Then you will see all the beams associated to this network. Then if you open any of the beam, you will see that you will go to group level. Then if you open the group level, you can see that you will have many information concerning the frequencies, emissions, and service area, and other information. Sorry, I have it. sorry. Key point to remember is that Appendix 4 data of a notice are stored in two MDB files, SNS for alphanumeric data, and GIMS for the graphical data. Plan and non-plan notices and procedures stored in different MDB container published in BRIFIC and on website. BR-based software are in connection with the SNS and GIMS databases. So this ends my second presentation.
There was a question.
Yes.
From Reza Hosseini in Iran.
Yes.
What's the difference between the IFIC XXS.MDB tables and the SRS?
Okay.
XXS.
So the IFIC MDB only contain what we receive from the last IFIC, what we receive for the, let's say, last 2 weeks. But the SRS contain what we receive from the beginning, what we receive from, SRS contain the complete information, let's say.
Right, so.
I don't know if I'm clear. IFIC is just what we just published on this BR IFIC, but the SRS is the complete database which contain all the information we published since many times. So the SRS is the biggest one, which contains everything, right. But the IFIC is just what we are publishing on this IFIC. So
and the SRS will also contain what was done within the last 2 weeks, is that right?
Yes, what was done within the last week, within the last years.
Yes, as well.
As well, yes.
Sorry, so we can say that the SRS shows the current status, including everything.
Yes, this is why I say SRS is the snapshot of the MI file at the date of publication of the IFIC.
All right,
so
excellent.
The SRS is exactly the MI file at the date of publication.
Okay, and Reza has another question.
Yes.
As you know, the limitation of MS Access database for data is less than 2 gigabits.
Yes.
It's less than 2 gigabytes.
Yes.
Is there any plan to migrate to the SQLite database to avoid this limitation?
Yes, our department, our IS department is working on that, so they will migrate on this because firstly, we try to split the database to 2, but just to not to have this issue anymore, I think they will migrate to the SQL database. So they are working on it, yes.
Okay. You have another presentation?
Yes, I have another presentation.
Okay, so let's go ahead on that because we are getting the break time.
Okay. So my last presentation will be on the software, but I think I'll already talk about the software using BR, so I will go. So BR software is designed to help you to prepare your electronic filings by creating input to BR. We also help you to create graphical diagrams. This is GIMS. Help you to validate filing. This is SpaceVal. Don't forget that you have to validate your filing before sending to ITU. If not, they will not be receivable. So you are obliged to validate your software, your submission. So you have to install this tool. Also, we have some software related to technical examinations. We have software to query the space database. So as I say, SpaceCap helps you to enter or capture Appendix 4 data into SNS format database. So now we are using the V8 version, but in the next couple of months, we will use V9 version. GIMS is to capture graphical data. SpaceVal is to validate Appendix 4 data and check the presence of required Appendix 4 graphical data. SpaceCom is to submit your comments. Let's say if you think that you will be affected, you have to submit your comment within 4 months. So you have to use SpaceCom software to submit your comment to the ITU. Don't forget that you have 4 months from the date of the BRIFIC to submit your comments. So you also have Space Query to query and extract some information on in the database. We have SNS Online. I already discussed it in my last presentation. This is also to query the satellite and earth station in the space services. SpacePub, this is just to help you to print satellite and earth station in the space services. So we have the technical examination software. So I think during the workshop on Earth Station, you will use GIBC, you will use Appendix 7 of the GIBC to create the contour of the Earth Station. So I think Ore will give you more information on that. So we have tools related to technical examination. SPS also, we have tools for plan examination also. So we have, our software, the main software is Space Application Manager, which is the main software which helps to install the other software. So if you want to install, you will see you have to install this called SAM, which is Space Application Manager software. Then this will help you to install the other software. So you can download our software. If you want to have the latest version, please go on the BI website. You will have the latest version on the IFIC, on the BI IFIC, but also we have the latest version on the BI website. You can download from the IFIC, as I said. And don't forget that you need administration privilege to install the software. So this is very important. So you need administration privilege on your PC to be able to install the software. So as I said, so you have all the software will be modified, the version will be modified after each conference. So the last one is the conference of 2019. So we'll have V9. So at the quarter of 2020, you can test, you can use it to send your submission. And as I say, we have now the e-correspondence software, e-communication software. So this will help you to communicate it with the Bureau and also to communicate between yourself. And the next will be better integration of web application between e-submission, SNL Online, SNL as received, and satellite name change. So we also have software, new software related to the technical examination. So this ends my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Akeem. We are close to the break time. I'm not seeing any additional questions coming in, but after the break, we will hear some more about SpaceCom, how to submit comments, and also how to report Earth stations to the BR. Let me just make sure. I think a question might have come in. Yes, there is I think there's a new question that came in from Reza. What's the difference between? No, we've done that already.
Yes.
Yes. No, we've
done.
Yes, we've done that.
Okay.
There is a new one though from Timothy Scott. He's from Grenada. Is VSAT or Earth Receiving Terminal required for registration? And I think the answer to that is wait till after the...
Yeah, after the presentation of Ore.
Yes.
Well, it's a good question, but I think Ore will answer.
Yes. So after the break, one of the presentations we'll have is from Jorge Chicorossi, who will talk about notification of earth stations, and we'll take that one at that time. So we are at the break time. I think I will.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Tom?
because the next session will be the commenting on the SpaceCom for region 2, and I have an update. I further update this presentation. Could you please ask the participant to download it from the website so that we are ready, when we begin.
Okay, but well, they will be able to follow your slides as well, right?
Okay, right. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Let them pay attention. I prefer they pay attention and
Okay.
download
So
later.
Okay. Thank you very much, and talk to you later. Okay.
All right.
Right.
Okay, so let us go to the break now. Our restart time is in 15 minutes. Well, at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time, really about 14 minutes from now. So we'll take the break and we'll come back at that time with Tom's presentation. Thank you for your attention so far.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Welcome back to the second session of our seminar today. Thank you. Yes, welcome back to the second session. And we'll be hearing in this session from Mr. Thong Pham Viet and Mr. Jorge Chicorossi, both also from the Space Services Department. And the first presenter after the break will be Thong, but just before he does, I just wanted to say one thing with respect to the presentations. Again, I'll say that the presentations are being updated or have been updated and possibly also will be further updated, and they'll be available on the ITU event page that you can download. And I would recommend that you download them after the session. That way you can be sure that you have the latest ones available. For the rest of the week, we'll be getting into the forum sessions, and I'll talk a bit more about that at the end of today's program. So let me now ask Mr. Thong Pham Viet to go ahead and make his presentation on SpaceCom comments of Appendix 30 and 38. Thong, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. I will try to share my screen. Is it okay? Can you see it? Hello?
No, we are not seeing it as yet. I think you have to click share.
Share screen. Okay, I click it. Share. I have to click share. Right.
Right.
Right. Now, yeah. Still new to the system.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I have to make this thing. Okay. I hope.
Now it's fine. Yes,
okay.
It's good.
Okay. Okay. So hello everybody again. If you still remember me, I presented to you last week the BSS plan in Region 2, and as a continuation in this session, I would like to present to you how to protect this. So as you already know, in Region 2 plan, we have the original plan as adopted by WARC 85 in order to ensure the equitable access to the DSO orbit among the Region 2 administrations. And we also have the plan stemming from successful application of Article 4 procedure. So the plan resulting from Article 4 procedure is subject to the time limitation. It means that you have a maximum of 8 years in order to bring it into view. And if you cannot bring into use within the 8 year, the Article 4 networks would be deleted. Nevertheless, for the original plan, you are not subject to any time limitation for bringing into use. The original plan is reserved for the future use. But as a term reservation, it doesn't mean that you put something aside and it is ready for use to use it in the future without any problem. You need to do something in order to keep your plan healthy and ready to be used in the future. So this is the reason why you need to protect your plan. To protect your plan it can be done through the commenting procedure. The first reason is that in the future you can use is a BSS plan without harmful interference. As you know that launching a satellite to the GSO is very expensive, costly. And if you pretty sure that at the end of the day, the services that you are going to provide will receive harmful interference, so you are not going to do it. So you need to protect. The second reason is that the notifying administration of an incoming Article 4 network in Region 2 will have to take into account is a BSS plan when finalizing the characteristics, so as not to cause harmful interference to is a BSS plan. And the last reason is that is a BSS plan continues to be protected by any future incoming Article 4 network. So that is 3 reasons why you have to comment, and it is 3 reasons as a consequence of not commenting. As you already know that for the compatibility among Region 2 plan, we use the OEPM criteria. And this table, indicate for you how the Bureau will determine if your BSS plan is affected by an incoming network in Region 2. So let's suppose that if you have the OEPM, the current OEPM of your plan assignment is still positive. Let's take it 10 dB. So if the because the interference from the incoming Article 4 network in Region 2, and that effect brings is OEPM until the minus 0.25, then it means that the incoming network does not affect your plan assignment. It has the right to degrade your EPM up to the 0.25 below below 0. And if let's say if your current OEPM still 10 dB, but because the effect of the incoming network, your new OEPM is become less than minus 0.25. It means that the incoming Article 4 network is affecting your plan assignment, and in this case you have to do something. Here you can see that the degradation is the tolerance is always 0.25. It's regardless of it is positive or negative. But if let's say if your current EPM is minus 5, and if the new OEPM is due to the effect of the incoming Article 4 network in Region 2 is less than minus 9.25, then it means that your BSS plan is affected. So from the OEPM values, what we can see from this OEPM value. So there we can see 2 things from this: the level of protection given to your plan assignment, and the ability for you to provide services using the plan assignment. The first one, this diagram indicate the level of protection of is our BSS plan assignment from new incoming article 4 network, depending on the level of the current value of is our OEPM. So here in the x-axis is the level, it indicates the level of the OEPM value, the current one. And the y-axis, it indicates the C/I value of is our plan assignment due to the interference from incoming article 4 network. And this curve, it indicates the minimum C/I that the incoming network has to meet in order for it not to be identified as affecting is our plan assignment. So let's take an example. If let's take that is our the current OEPM value of is our plan assignment is 20 dB, which is positive. So if the C/I of is our plan assignment due to the interference from incoming article 4 network is, let's say here is above 28 dB, then it means that this article 4 incoming article 4 network does not affect is our BSS plan assignment. But if the C/I is less than 28 dB, it means that it is affecting is our BSS plan assignment. And if the OEPM is, let's take that it's about minus 30, the current OEPM of your plan assignment is minus 30 dB. Then you see here that the minimum C/I is only 10 dB, which is about 18 dB below the level that you should you ask for at the if the OEPM is 20 dB. And also from this diagram, you can see that when the OEPM, the current OEPM is positive, it means that you still can tolerate, you still can accept interference from the incoming network. And when the OEPM is 0 dB, it means that is our network, is our BSS plan is most sensitive. It means that there's only very small amount of interference created from the incoming article 4 network will trigger the identification of is our BSS plan assignment. And when the OEPM is very, very negative, it means that you resist to interference. It means that you should accept a lot of interference before you can be triggered as affected. So the purpose here for you to commenting is to keep the OEPM as as less negative as possible. And the second things from the OEPM is the ability for you to provide the services. So here in this table, you will see that for the original plan is the C over N is 14 dB. And we also know that for the protection ratio, the co-channel is 28 dB. So depending on the OEPM, we can derive C over N plus I to see that with this taking into account the interference from the adjacent networks, the C over N plus I is above the C over N objective that you are requiring for the services. So here you see that if let's say if the C over the OEPM is let's say if you set the C over N objective is 8 dB, then here you see that the OEPM at least has to be minus 18 dB. Below that, you are not going to meet the C over N objective. And just here, I would like you to remember that this is just an illustration because it takes only into account the interference from the region 2 networks. In this, we do not take into account the interference from the region 1 and 3 BSS or the non-plan FSS because for the BSS, it is the regional plan is not worldwide plan. So we have to take into account not only the interference among region 2 BSS, but also from region 1 and 3 BSS, from the FSS non-plant in another region, and also from terrestrial services sharing the same frequency band. So here, in order for you to provide the healthy services, the aim is to have the OEPM less negative as much as possible. So here, if you see that when the OEPM become very negative, so let's on the figure on his left is I would like to indicate that it's at the time of the development, the creation of the original plan. So in here, the circle, as I said before, that it represent the total capacity allocated to the region 2 BSS plans. And then as you see here, at first, let's say we take 60% to create the original. If you become negative and negative, the amount of the original plan, the capacity of the original plan will become smaller and smaller. And if here, if you see that when it is about let's say the OEPM is less than 30 dB, almost then all of the capacity will be given to the Article 4 submissions, which is up to now only 9 administration submitting the Article 4 only 9 administration applying Article 4 procedure, whereas we have in the region 2 we have 39 administration having assignment in the original plan. So here, you remember that last week it was requested to do a homework to identify how many entries you have in the original plan, the characteristics as well as associated OEPM value. So here I did for you the OEPM based on the BRIFIC 29, 25, and from this table you can see that for each administration you can see that how many entries you have in the plan, at which orbital position, and also the level of the OEPM is I here, because the OEPM is a value associated to each test points per channel. So for example, if an entry you have 10 channels, for example, and each channel is associated to 10 test points, so the OEPM will be have a set of 100 OEPM values, but here I just indicate the minimum and the maximum of these 100 values. So you see here, luckily most of you the OEPM are still okay. It's around 0 or -3 or -4 dB. Here next, yeah. Okay, so so far the bureau, we have received the commenting from 19 out of 39 region 2 administrations, and those who submit this comment are listed in this slide. So now I would like to explain to you how to comment. So first, you can only comment on incoming Article 4 networks, which were published in the Part A special section. And is our BSS plan assignment are affected or not is determined by the Bureau in its publication of the Part A special sections. And you have to comment, to send the comment within the 4 months from the date of the publication. The date of publication is the date of the BRIFIC. The way to comment is, there are 2 ways, because it is how you decide at the WRC, either the telefax or spacecom. So if an incoming network is an Article 4 network in regions 1 and 3, then you have to use a telefax. There is no spacecom available, only telefax. And if an incoming network is an Article 4 network in region 2, then you shall use spacecom. without Spacecom commenting database, only telefax is not enough, and your plan, BSS plan, is not protected. So how to know if a network is an incoming network is in regions 1 and 3 or in region 2? So in this case, you just look at the first page of the special section. And if you see that the designation of a special section is like IP30/E or IP30A/E, and provision is for 1.3, then it is a network in regions 1 and 3. And in this case, you use the telefax for commenting. And if you see the designation is IP30-30A/E, and provision is 4.2.6, then it is an incoming network in region 2, and you have to use Spacecom for commenting. And it is just a snapshot of the first page of the special section. And here on is right, you see that there's a special section designation is IP30. It means that it is BSS downlink, and 768 is just the number of this special section. And at the bottom on its left, you see the provision 4.1.3, and on its right, you see that the deadline for commenting, which is 4 months from the date of the publication of the BRIFIC. Yeah, this is BRIFIC 2857, and this published on 31st of October. And it is the case of the special section for an article for network in region 2. And here you see that the designation is IP30/30A. Why it is like this? Because in region 2, you remember that we have the OEPM criteria. OEPM, which is stand for the overall protection, equivalent protection margin. Overall, it means that it's combination of the downlink and the feeder link. The IP30 is for downlink and 30A is for the feeder link. It has to be together in one notice for the region 2, and that's why we have this special section designation. And similarly, at the bottom on its right, on its left, you see that the provision is 4.2.6. It is the provision of the Article 4, which is applicable for region 2 submission. And again, here is the expiry date for the receipt of the comment. So with this, and then now how to identify if your administration is effective or not. So I suppose that your administration receive regularly every 2 weeks a BRIFIC DVD. Okay, if you do not receive it, you should contact the BR, or you also can download the electronic version ISO image from the BR website. So here is we have the main step how to identify if your administration is effective or not. So let's say that you insert the BRIFIC DVD into your computer, and then you will see this screen appear. So you go to first the BR on its left. You see that first you have to select on the BRIFIC publications. And then on next, you will see that there is special sections. And in this, the special section, you will see that there are several lists. But for the region 1 and for the BSS, you should focus on the first 3, the IP30/30A, IP that is for region 2, IP30 is for the region 1 and 3 BSS, and IP30A is for the region 1 and 3 feeder link. And once you click on the special section, you will see that the table of the content on the number 3 to indicate how many articles for networks have been published in this BRIFIC. So you see that there's the special section, and next to the special section, you see that plan path. So you know that for the application of Article 4 procedure, the Bureau published 4 special section. The part A is containing the initial characteristic and it's subject for commenting. Part B is here is B is mean that for the inclusion in the list in case of the region 1 and 3, or in the plan in case of the region 2. Or the part C is for the cancellation. Cancellation is because after the 8th year, within the 8th year, notifying administration cannot bring into use the assignment. And the part D is to establish the coordination requirement for the region 2, for region 2, because it is subject to the SpaceCom. And let's say that here you select the last one, which is for the region 2 network is NSS, BSS, District 22 West. And if you select on special section, you will see that this special section in PDF will be displayed. And in order to search for administration, you just simply have the activate the search in the PDF by, I guess, by the Control F, and then you just type the administration code. And in this case, if you type for the Bolivia, so you will see that the Bolivia is identified as affected by this satellite network. And from this thing, from this designation, etc., you will see that you have to use telefax for commenting or SpaceCom for commenting. And in this case, it is an Article 4 network in region 2. Then you have to use SpaceCom. So how to use SpaceCom? I hope that following the presentation of the Akim, then you can install SpaceCom on your computer, and you just simply from the SAM, you select SpaceCom, and you will see this message appear. And what you should select here is IP3030A part A. You remember, and you just read it here. You see that the part A, the Article 4 network in region 2. Select it, and then the next screen you put is your country code, is your administration code, and then you click OK. And here you select the first is potentially affected administration commenting on a part A, and you just keep the operator blank. If it is the database is supposed to send to the BR, so you keep it blank. And then you click next, and then you will see this screen. So the screen first, what you have to do is to enter the BRIFIC number. So when you enter the BRIFIC number, the program will give you the date of the publication of that BRIFIC, and also the expiry date, which is the 4 months from the publication of the BRIFIC. And then you have to connect to the SPS own database, as published in that BRIFIC. And then you click on Get List of the Part A. So Get List of the Part A, here you will see that only the Article 4 network in region 2 will appear. Let's take an example. On the 2836, there are 3 Article 4 networks published. 2 of them are belonging to the region 2 and 1 belonging to region 1 and 3. So here, if you get list of the part A, you will see only 2, because this only 2 is belonging to the region 2, and the last one belonging to region 1 and 3, you have to use to special section and use a telefax to send the comment. And here, then you have the 2 Article 4 networks, so you have to comment on one by one. So you have to first to select the special section, and then click on from 4 the comment on the part A. So it leads you to this screen, and the default action is that you do not if your administration is identified as affected, then the default action is that you do not accept, you do not agree to the proposed network. And if you uncheck, it means that you intentionally accept the interference, from this proposed network. And then you just follow this. You check, make sure that the comments for each network is completed, and then you go back and you do for the all the network listed in this in this screen. Once you finish commenting, then you can you will be able to validate before submitting the comment to the BR. So you just use the validate functionality, and now before as you you know that before you could submit the commenting through the BR mails, but now you cannot submit to the BR mails. You have to submit through the e-submission system. So it is very important for you to make sure that your administration has an account in the e-submission, so that for you to submit, for example, an article for networks, in order to ask for more resources, or in order to submit the SpaceCom database in order to protect your, what you have in original plan. And that is finishing for the how you use a SpaceCom to capture your comment, and then you use the e-submission system to submit it to the bureau. So now after you submit this the comments to the bureau, then there may be several actions arising. So here there are 4 scenarios. So we will go one by one. The first, that the notifying administration do not contact the affected administration. Let's take that your administration is affected administration. So the in this case, no further action is required, because maybe the notifying administration, seeing that you have commented and also see that a lot of degradation is not worth to enter into the discussion, they will do something in order not to affect your plan assignment. The second possibility is that maybe the notifying administration asks why you have commented. And in this case, it's just simply a simple reply is that based on the BR examination indicated in a special section. In this the relevant special section, you should indicate that is which is the number of the special section, and it has been published in which BRIFIC and date in DASO. And the third possibility is that the notifying administration submit technical proposal to obtain an agreement from your administration. So in this case, it is advisable that you should study carefully the proposal, and you may request any further information from the notifying administration. And if in any case, if you need, your administration may request the assistance of the bureau. And at the end of the day, you have to reply to the notifying administration the acceptance or not of the proposal. And if you accept, okay, you accept. So you just say that you agree to the proposed satellite network. And if you do not accept, you should indicate also the reason why. And the last possibility is that notifying administrations propose a coordination meeting. And in this case, you should accept the meeting if it deemed necessary, or you may propose to conduct the coordination by correspondence. And in any case, you should prepare for this meeting, either in person or by correspondence. Is the technical reasons. If you are not ready to accept, you have to prepare the technical reasons to explain why. And if you can give agreement, so here you have to assess how much interference you could accept from this incoming network. And also here, in any case, if needed, your administration may request the assistance from the bureau. I think with this, I finish my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tong. We do have a couple questions. One, well, it came in a bit earlier, so I'm not quite sure of the context. What database is this available in? The SpaceCom is its own database, as I understood it from an earlier diagram. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's MS Access database.
Right.
And it is, yeah, okay, yeah.
And the questioner goes on, this is Isaf Ali from Trinidad and Tobago. Can I identify if my administration is affected strictly from databases without the use of these special sections?
Yes, of course. You can, open the SPS own database directly and just do some simple query, or you go directly to the, in that there are many tables, and you just go to the TR proven table and search for your administration, and it will appear here. Or you can use space query. In space query, we have a functionality to help you how to identify and if your administration is affected or not. Actually, this presentation I try to do it in a different way, but from the ITU website you can see another presentation on SpaceCom, and it shows you all this step how to using open the database directly, or how to use the SpaceCom space query to check if your administration is affected or not. And if you are, to know the MS access is quite easy for you. Just a few minutes, you can detect it.
Okay. I have a clarification coming from Isaf regarding the question about which database is this available in. He was referring to the OEPM list.
It is in the it's SPS own database. It's IP3038 master database. Yeah. It's not SpaceCom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Actually, what I'll do, I think I'll ask Jorge to move on with his presentation now, and we might have some time afterwards for some other general questions related to it. So yes, this list of OEPM you were saying is located in which database?
Yeah, it's in the SPS own. Is
SBS. Okay.
Yeah, SBS on. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. So Jorge Chicorosi is going to present now and talking about notification of earth stations. We already have a question that came in from Grenada. I think that would be relevant to Jorge's presentation. So Jorge, please go ahead now.
Thank you, Nigel, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening again to everyone. Tell me if you are hearing well, I think.
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I think this is the last slot of this session of space issues before we move on, of course, to the forum tomorrow and after tomorrow. So I would like to mention a couple of things before to go to the presentation. And the first one is really to thank you, Nigel, and your team for the excellent organization you are doing in the Caribbean region and the Americas. I was just having a look to the registered participants and connected, and we have always more than 200 connected, and I think we have kind of 35 countries, which I think is not bad. It may be a record for a regional seminar, and at least in the Americas region. And the reason why I also mentioned that is because what we are going to see now is how to notify and protect one air station. And in a way, I was thinking that while looking at the different presentations and participation, it is linked to this thing that we are seeing now so great about how we are interconnected and telecommunicated. No? So imagine if we were going to need this virtual seminar in another moment without this telecommunication. No, it would have been impossible. And today this is possible, and this is thanks to the telecommunications. And in one part of this network, for sure, there is a satellite link and one air station. And for that, we need to ensure that it's working properly. And that's how more or less I link with all this, because we really need to pay attention to this and to take benefit of what the technology is offering to us. So the first presentation, I will start to share the screen. Let me see if you can see it.
Yes.
So the first presentation, okay. So the first presentation will be dedicated to coordination notification for the station, but mainly from the procedural point of view. And in this case, we are trying to to explain different things. The first one is why to notify an arrestation to the ITU, some technical concepts, also what does the coordination notification procedure means and what are the main provisions. As you know, the radio regulation have 4 volumes, but sometimes it's a bit hard to get used to it, and we need to start through the main provisions, which in this case is those one related to notification of arrestations. Some practical advices, in particular related to the BR examination. We don't like to give unfavorable findings, so it's also more work for us, so we prefer to have an issue favorable findings. That's why we are trying to give some advices in advance. And also how the administration can request assistance to the Bureau in case they have some difficulties. So the first one is why to notify an arrestation to the ITU. We are going to go into details to the regulatory explanation, let's say, but before to go that, I would like to discuss or to see what is the situation today. And we are seeing already after the last WRC 19 and also WRC 15 and the WRC 23, which is coming, how the technology is evolving and how the RFI environment, the radio frequency interference environment, is changing and is evolving very fast as well. No? So we see that there will be forums this week about non-GSO constellations. Some of them are already being deployed. Emergency satellite, small satellites communications or for different applications. Also high throughput satellites in the GSO orbit. And also new identification of frequencies either to be used by IMT mobile or also by another ubiquitous deployment of terminals in neighboring countries. So with all this, it's clear that the risk of harmful interference is higher. And of course, we will have some technology and some regulation which are evolving in parallel, let's say, to follow this advance and to mitigate it. But we need to protect these arrestations, and in the same way, we need to ensure that these arrestations are not causing harmful interference to other systems. So it's from both sides. From the regulatory perspective, all this is written in the Article 11. No? The Article 11 says what shall be notified. So it says any frequency assignment associated to a transmitting or receiving arrestation, which is capable to causing harmful interference, which will be used for international radio communication, like this one, for example, and subject to a plan, subject to a coordination procedure, or for which you want to have international recognition and protection, no? Or for information. So these are the scenarios which implies where an arrestation has to be notified. And at the end, if I don't remember it, please remind me, I will answer the question about the visas and if they can be notified or not and how. So let's move to the coordination of arrestation with respect to terrestrials and also with respect to another arrestation. So when do they have to be notified? Well, we can see, for example, in the Article 5, 2 boxes in C-band where there is a sharing of the same frequency band between 2 systems with equal category of primary allocation in this case and equal rights. No, in this case we see in region 2, for example, the uplink of the fixed satellite service (FSS) sharing the same band with the fixed, and in the other portion of the band in 6 GHz we see the fixed satellite service in both up and down link. So in those cases they have the equal rights, no, same category of allocation. And if the coordination area includes the territory of another country, then you have to coordinate with them. Or you may also be identified by the other country. So this is when you have to coordinate. Now, let's go and explore some provisions where the coordination may be involved. One of these is the 915, which involves the specific or typical arrestations of one non-GSO satellite network with respect to terrestrial stations. So in this case, there is a footnote, which is in this case 5389A, which says that for that portion of the band, coordination and 911A is applied. So again, we have same category of allocation, and if the coordination area includes your territory, then the coordination for that air station is required. Another provision, and this is the most typical provision, in fact, is the 917. Most of the cases, perhaps 80%, are related to this provision. And this one refers to the coordination between one specific air station or typical mobile air station in respect to terrestrial stations, no? And this is for frequencies above 100 megahertz, except those which were mentioned before. So in this case, if we take the same example in region 2 for the C-band uplink, we have fixed sharing the same band with the same category with the fixed satellite service in the Earth-to-space direction. No, that means the uplink. So if we take an example of two countries, A and B, we may have the situation where the air station, transmitting air station, is located here, no, in the station A, and the country B or administration B may have many terrestrial systems. In this case, it's fixed, it can be also mobile. And when we trace the air station coordination contour, if we see that these locations includes the territory of your neighboring country, that means that you have to coordinate with the other country before you bring into operation that air station. In this case, because it's transmitting, is to protect the terrestrial system in the country B. If it was a receiving air station, it would be the same, but to protect your air station as a receiving air station. Another provision also used for the cases of bidirectional use of the band, for example, is the case of one specific air station or in respect to another air station. No, one is transmitting, the other one is receiving. Or also in the case of a typical mobile air station with respect to another specific air station, except 919. So in this case, for example, in the 6.7 to 70-75 megahertz, we can see that the fixed satellite is used for both directions. No, so if we take the same example between two administrations A and B, we'll see that the transmitting air station is in the country A and could interfere or has the capability to interfere the receiving air station in the country B. So we trace a coordination contour and we see if it is inside, that means that the coordination is required. So in summary, whenever the coordination contours touch another country, the coordination is required. In terms of technical concept, what does the coordination area means? Well, basically it says that inside the coordination area, it is likely to receive interference or to cause interference. However, when it is outside that coordination area, the interference is negligible, so the coordination is not required. And then we'll see that, in fact, this doesn't mean that the coordination will exist, no? This is a kind of trigger to say, okay, please have a look, because there may be the potential to cause or receive interference. Then, depending on the case by case, we taking into account more parameters, like, for example, the direction between the two point-to-point relays, you will see if there is enough spatial discrimination of your antenna or not, no? So this is just saying, be careful, have a look, and if there is something which is required, then you have to coordinate. So what is the method that we use for calculation? Well, this is defined mainly in the Appendix 7 of the radio regulation. So either for the case of 915, 917, or 917A. And for the case of 917A, there are, as we mentioned before, there are two possibilities. One is for the transmitting air station and for the receiving air station. For the first one, it is included in the Appendix 7. And for the latter one, there is not a specific methodology, but what we are doing is to check if that air station is inside the coordination of another transmitting air station. That's the way to link both possibilities. But again, normally the provision which is mostly used, for example, for FSS, is this one, 917. What are the data that we need? Well, these are all contained in the Appendix 4. So certainly we need some geographical data like the coordinates, altitude, radioclimatic factors, the horizon elevation angle diagram. And for this one, we have prepared one exercise to see the difference, the impact of that. Even though it's not mandatory to have it, let's say if you don't provide, it will be 0, but it's not the actual and most favorable situation. No? In terms of satellite, we need to know if we're speaking about the GSO, for example, the orbital longitude, the ITU name, and also the antenna, the space station beam. For this one, something important is to provide the name before ITU, not the commercial names, because many times we have these issues that people cannot don't provide the ITU name, and therefore we cannot associate to the actual satellite name notified to ITU. So it's not the commercial name, it's the ITU name. In terms of antenna, well, the maximum gain, radiation pattern, and then depending on the situation, it can be another characteristics like maximum power and maximum power density if it is a transmitting station, or receiving noise temperature if it's a receiving station, and of course the frequencies. No, these are basically the parameters that we are requiring, and they are listed in the Appendix 4. And the software, of course, will ask for them. Sometimes I was asked what is the meaning of horizon elevation angle, and this graphic, which looks kind of cartoon in a way, it's describing how to measure this. In fact, what you have to do is you have to situate in the center of the Earth station antenna, no, in the center of the dish, and from this axis you have to create a scan of 360 degrees azimuth, and for every azimuth, which doesn't have to be every 1 degree, it can be every 10 degrees, then the program is averaging. For every azimuth, you have to measure the elevation angle up to the third obstruction, no? So in this case, for example, there is a mountain. So in order to see the satellite, of course, it has to be open here, clear, but there will be some obstruction. So this first obstruction is the elevation angle. And then we move to another azimuth, and another one, and like this, we complete the 360 degrees. So this is the concept of the horizon elevation angle. Now, in terms of the calculation method, in the ITU Appendix 7, in the Appendix 7 methodology, it describes this methodology, which is based on the, if I remember well, the recommendation 1448 for our stations. And we categorize in 2 modes for the effects of propagation effects. So the first one is the mode 1, which takes into account the different effects like ducting, reflection, and refraction. No, we can see here, which will make that your radio wave, which is transmitted from one station, may, for example, affect another terrestrial system. No, and then there is a second mode called mode 2, which is basically due to hydrometeors, scattering, or precipitation. No, so in this case also you will have this point-to-point radio link. We will be receiving some interference due to this another effect. And this we'll see in the next slide will create 2 different coordination contours. No, one due to the mode 1 and the other one due to the mode 2. Always the one which is considered is the larger one. In this case, which is another station in Malta, so it's, let's say, pretty similar to what could be in the Caribbean because it's surrounded by the sea. We see a mode 1, which is very, very large in green, and then we see a mode 2 due to precipitations. No? Always when it's surrounded by sea, we'll see a very large area. And in any case, what we have to consider as a coordination distance for every azimuth is the larger one. For example, here we'll consider mode 2 in red, but here we'll consider the mode 1 in green. And to give an idea, the coordination distance can go from as small as 10 kilometers, if we take, for example, the case of 60 gigahertz range, up to mode 1, 1,200 kilometers for particular case in Zone C for mode 1. No? But certainly it depends on case by case, depending on the frequency, the latitude of the station, and the climatic zones. This is just to give you an idea. What we can see here is exactly the impact of the effect of the horizon elevation angle. So on the left side, what I mentioned before, let's say we can assume that there is no obstruction to the horizon, so the elevation angle is 0, which in some cases may be true. No, if it is in the middle of the flat field, it's fine. But what if I forgot to include this, and for example, in fact, there is an obstruction to certain areas? If I log these parameters properly, we'll see that in this case, the mode 1, which is the green one, will change in particular for those areas which was affected by this obstruction. So this is important when we need to coordinate and we need to see if we really need coordination with certain countries or not. Because in this case, for example, we see that this part of this country, Libya or Egypt even, is not required if we have certain actual parameters of the relation angle, or we have done some artificial shield in order to avoid or to prevent the coordination with another countries to affect those systems. So this is important part of this exercise. And we'll see something similar for the Caribbean later. In terms of coordination area for another services like the mobile, here it is different. Here we have, for example, one ground-based mobile station with respect to another terrestrial mobile aircraft in the 1 to 3G gigahertz. In this case, normally the coordination area is taken into account from the service area of that mobile station. There is a predetermined or calculated value, no? And all over that service area, we trace this distance and we can see what is the coordination area. Remember that because it's mobile, we cannot take specific points. Now we need to consider all this area as a service area. And from there, as we said, specific fixed distance, in this case 500 kilometers, all over. So this can be a predetermined value or can be calculated. And in this case, what we were saying about the horizon elevation angle is not considered, no, because it's mobile. So this was a very short summary, but in fact, I didn't want to make it more complex, because the idea is that you can see that it's not a very difficult process. It's very simple. It's basically 3 or 4 steps, as we are summarizing here. The first one, and I know that sometimes this is one of the most difficult, in fact, it depends if your position is to be an operator or administration, but it's to obtain the characteristics of the air station, no? So if you're an operator, certainly you will have it. If you're an administration, sometimes you don't have all these, depending on your country's regulation, you don't have all these parameters, but you need to know them. So in those cases, the first one is to collect these parameters, and you compare with the Appendix 4 parameters of the radio regs. Then, based on this Appendix 4, you will generate this coordination contour using the Appendix 7. And with this, you will identify those administrations that you need to coordinate with, if you need, because another important point is sometimes you don't need to coordinate. You may have a country which is very large in area, and your air station is in the middle of your country, and you don't need to coordinate, but you need to protect it, or you want to have international recognition for the same reason. Another case is that you are surrounded by a sea, but you are isolated enough so you're not touching another country. And again, you don't need even to coordinate, it's just straight to notification. So that's why it's important. Just collect your data, generate these contours, and have a look. If you need to coordinate, well, you have to approach to those countries. If not, it's just straight to the ITU and you are protecting your air station. And then the third step is, as I was saying, for those cases that requires coordination is, well, to coordinate with them. But this is between administrations. You don't have to inform ITU yet. Only when you have obtained the agreement under these provisions I mentioned before, like 917, for example, then you have to submit it to the ITU, no? And then, and only then, you will have protected your air station, or also the services and systems from your neighboring country. And now it's a summary for you in order to make it easier. What are the provisions that you have to look at least in the 95% maybe of the cases? Well, Article 5, obviously the table of frequency allocation. So the frequency which is being used has to be allocated to that service in your country. Article 9 for the coordination. For example, 917, we said in 917A. Article 11 for notification. Article 21, so before to submit the notification, remember to check that the ERP level has to be in compliance with this article, also the elevation angle. And then the Appendix 4 for the list of parameters, Appendix 5 in order to see the criteria which is used, Appendix 7 for the methodology to calculate the coordination contour. What is the information you have to send to ITU? Well, all those parameters which are in the Appendix 4, in electronic format. That means NDB files created with the software that I will say later, the Appendix 7 contours, and any letter that the administration may wish to submit, in particular if you have to submit some clarification. What is the software to be used? SpaceCap and SpaceVal, Appendix 7 GIBC to create the contours, and finally the online e-submissions to submit it via internet to the ITU. In terms of regulatory times, well, the regulation in the provision 1125 says that you have to submit your notification not earlier than 3 years before bringing it into use. And in fact, this is valid for any frequency assignment, not only for an station, but for also satellites and so on. So don't submit your notification 3 years before it's going to be brought into use. And normally we receive this question, and also sometimes it happened during our life that we realized that there was one air station which is already operating and was not notified. So the question normally is, oh, what should I do? Can I still notify or not? Well, from the regulatory perspective, in Article 11, it says that before you bring into use any frequency assignment, you have to start the coordination notification procedure. No? However, from the practical perspective, it's always better or later than never, I would say. So if it happens that you have one air station or some or many, I hope not, that they are operating and they are not notified, it's not too late. You can still coordinate and notify. No, it's better later than never, as I said. So there is no restriction from that point of view. So this is in terms of the summary. What are we checking in the ITU side from the Bureau? Well, we check these 3 years. That is not too early, as we were saying. We check that it's not too early, but we don't check that it's too late because it's not somehow strictly mentioned for air stations. 1131, the frequency band, Article 21, I already mentioned, Section 3 and 4. 1132, this is also important. Today I just had one case which the air station was not covered by the space station. That means that the frequency band which was used by the station was not exactly covered, or sometimes it happened that the beam name is different. No? So this has to be checked and aligned to the ITU satellite names and the frequencies, as I mentioned. The air station should be inside the service area, no? And if you have to coordinate, because there was a requirement for coordination with another countries, you must have obtained these agreements. Otherwise, that will be returned with unfavorable findings. So, as you see, there are not many things. Maybe it's more what I'm speaking than what it is to be collected and run. The procedure, of course, if you read, it looks more extensive, but this is for the most of the cases. What happens if you have problems or are just new in the process? Don't worry. So you can request assistance to the Bureau, either for application of these procedures, or if you need some help to run or install the software. And another two more important situation is in case that you don't have response from the other administration. So you can request assistance under 946. And if the other administration is not providing a decision or details of the disagreement, you can still request assistance under 960. And this is a very, very important last bullet of this slide, that is always pay attention if you receive a letter from the Bureau in response to a request for assistance. And again, this applies not only to the air station, but to any services. In particular, we are speaking about satellite services, because after 2 letters, if you are receiving and you are not responding, or your administration is not responding, the provisions 948 and 949 will apply. And that means that your system should not cause harmful interference, neither claim protection from that other systems. No? So please don't follow up always any communication from the Bureau that you are receiving, and try to respond in the time frame that they are specifying in the letter. No? So in summary, to notify your station is to avoid causing or receiving harmful interference to or from stations in both in space and terrestrial services, sharing the same frequency band and category of allocation. The steps, as I mentioned, they are not many. It's just collect info of the station, to generate the coordination contours, and identify the administrations, normally your neighboring countries that you have to coordinate with, to affect the coordination, and to notify to ITU. And in any case, if you have any question or request assistance, you can communicate this to the bureau. This is the first part of their stations, which is related to the procedure, as I said. Maybe it's better to go to the question now, and then we can do another exercise. But I already can answer the question about the visas. No, maybe we can go to the questions now. What do you think?
Yes, yes, I think so. So Timothy Scott from Grenada was asking if you require registration for receiving terminals.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and through many years at the different WRCs, there were issues raising this normally when there are new allocations or identifications in different bands. However, the radio regulations says that, or it doesn't say that you should notify typical FSS station, for example. So the VSATs is a generic term used for very small aperture terminals, no, for small antennas, and normally is referred to those typical air stations. So if you are referring to a typical air station in the FSS, through the radio regulation you cannot notify, because the radio regulation says a specific air station in the FSS. So you can notify a typical air station in the mobile satellite service, for example. You can notify a specific air station in the FSS, for example, but you cannot notify a typical. And for that, because of different things and challenging times with different services, the Bureau put at disposal certain frequency, certain way just to submit for information on the web for those typical air stations in the FSS. But to be honest, there weren't many received, so it's unfortunate it was not. So finally, the last WRC we proposed, and WRC 19 accepted to discontinue that. But it is very important to notify because of what the reason I say. And in those cases that the radio regulation does not allow, you have to keep in mind that even though it does not allow for typical air station in the FSS, you can always notify those specific air stations. So specific means that the characteristics are not exactly the same than those which were in the satellite network filing. So it may be 1 dB different on the antenna gain, maybe a little bit different antenna characteristic. This make it specific. So you can still notify one station if you want to call VSAT in the FSS under specific. And by doing this, if you are using that, you are protecting that band in that particular area, no? So that's one way that the administration can do for those cases. And this is a way to protect, again, for both, either if you may receive interference or you may cause interference to another one, no? So in any case, for specific air station, it's important to say that, of course, you are notifying one air station. For mobile air stations, you are notifying a batch of plenty of air stations in certain service area, no? So this is the case, let's say, no? So specific, yes, typical not, but you keep in mind that if you want to protect something and your air station has a specific characteristic a little bit different from the one which was in the satellite filing, you can notify. And in fact, you are protecting that frequency band, no? You are indirectly protecting your typical or VSAT air stations.
Right. And then I think he was also asking about receive only. Like some people have earth stations for receive only, maybe for TV or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in general, yes. Yeah, it's the same question, no? So
okay.
for the transmitting air station, so the conditions are the same that I explained at the beginning, no? If they fall in the specific, you have to notify. If it is receiving, it's not because you are going to cause interference, but it's for you to be protected. And to have international recognition. If it is transmitting a station, certainly in order not to cause harmful interference. But you are not going to notify if we are speaking about DTH, for example, which is a typical of receiving only typical air station. In those cases, it's not really required, no? But one way, again, to protect that is, as I mentioned before, well, you take, I don't know, 3 gigahertz receiving or 12 gigahertz receiving DTH. You take some air stations which are not exactly the same that those which are in the satellite network, because those typical in satellite network, they were used to coordinate the space segment, not the terrestrial segment. And here, the 917 is to protect in the terrestrial segment, in fact.
Okay.
I don't know if that was clear with the answer.
Well,
I hope.
I guess if not, he will say. Rafael.
He can always hang up. Yeah.
Yes. Rafael from Brazil has one related to notifying, and I think this is more procedural, talking about notification of receiving earth stations deployed in border regions in the C-band to the MIFR via your e-submission platform. He's asking, with e-submission platform, is there any way to allow the operators to submit to its administration all of their earth stations data from Appendix 4 in the same .mdb submission file? So if you have multiple, can you send them all in one?
Multiple station in one file. I would like to refer this question, because more from operational side, to my colleague Akim or Eli. I don't know if they are
if he's on.
connected now, or we can. So from the procedural perspective, this is more related to handling the database, no?
Yes,
so
it is.
I would like to check with them how it is being validated now with the new application. I will answer to Rafael, who is always challenging our. Rafael is a very nice guy. Yes, and so now we have to maybe to modify for Rafael. No, I don't think so.
But he has
we'll answer by yeah.
Yes. Okay. And Risa from Iran was asking, could you explain about auxiliary contours in Appendix 7?
Yes, basically, for example, if we have the case that I was mentioning before, tracing the mode 1 or mode 2, and the concept, as I was saying, is to see if there is a potential of interference. But this is created based on certain assumptions of typical parameters of receiving terrestrial station, for example, no, and many other things, which may be not the case of your system, no. So if, for example, your system has one parameter which would provide 10 dB more discrimination than the other one which was used in the Appendix 7, you can include this 10 dB less auxiliary contour, and you will see how it is reflected in the coordination area, no? So if you have more improvement from that perspective, you will see that the coordination is reduced and maybe your country is not affected. So this is basically the idea of the auxiliary contours.
Mehdi Nazari is asking, can the BR give assistance to an administration in finding the ITU name of a satellite from the commercial name? If you have the commercial name, could you assist?
I can tell you how, we can tell you how to find it if you want, but so I know it's a challenge sometimes, because normally the operator, I work in administration before, and sometimes we have the same challenge. So ideally, you should ask to the operator, no? However, in certain situations, you can't really identify by just checking if you have a satellite, commercial satellite in certain orbital location, and you go to the frequency band, through the commercial beam, if it is a hemispheric or spot beam, for example, no? So you can go to the ITU SNS online or SNL online, and you go for the same orbital position. You check for that frequency that you are using, that spot beam, and you can find it, no? But it's the administration who has to find it, let's say, because at the end of the day, it's better that you check with the operator to know what is the ITU name.
Okay.
So sometimes there is only one satellite, sometimes there may be many satellites in particular when there are different generations, and this is the administration who has to mention to which satellite name is referring to, no? Or the satellite operator. But this is a way to And something important when you are doing this is you need to, the administration has to check that that frequency band, let's say that transponder, is exactly covered by the notified satellite, because this is something which may change through years, no?
Right.
So that's important. It's another typical mistake sometimes.
All right. You had a demonstration you wanted to do, an exercise?
Yeah. What? Okay. Yes, 6. I think I will do a quick demonstration, and then perhaps,
Yes.
knowing that it is the last day of this seminar for the space issue in terms of seminar, not the forum, perhaps I think there are also more colleagues from my department and division, and if there are questions in general, I think we can also take them, not only from their station. So let's go to the guided exercise, and I will share the screen. I am sharing, in fact, right?
Yes. So you have to stop
Okay.
sharing this first and then share the new one.
I think it should be okay. No, it's not. Okay. Yes. That's. I'm not sharing the screen. I'm sharing the application. Yeah.
Right. Now you share again. Right. I'm seeing the exercise presentation now.
Okay.
Right.
So as I was saying at the beginning before, it is important to notify. It's not difficult, and if we look at to the, I think, 35 countries of region 2 out of 39, and even some countries from other regions who are following the seminar, we may be all or many of us connected at one point through an Earth station. No, not all the country needs to have its own satellite, and maybe yes or not, but certainly all of the countries have at least one Earth station, and that's the reason why it's important that every country follow these procedures. So here we created an exercise based on one Earth station in Costa Rica. I think it was the same that I did a long time ago, but it's the same. And on the right side, you will see all the parameters, which is a page, as you can see, required to do this exercise. For time reasons, we are not going to capture manually now, no? So you will see that if you download now, which should be accessible, if not, you can tell us, you can see the results of this exercise and also the input parameters. So you can download also 2 MTB files for that, and replicate the same exercise with the software I'm showing now. So these are the parameters that we require for this, which I think is a real case. And then we just play with 2 different horizon elevation angles to see the impact, as I mentioned before. So the first step is to create a database with a space cap. Space cap can be found in the SAM software. And to capture all these parameters manually, then to validate it with the space val, generate the contours, and then we'll modify the elevation angles. We see what are the differences, and observe the differences of the horizon elevation angle. So we go to the SAM, we open a space cap, and we go to File, and we press New Database. So remember always, where are you saving your file, because we'll need it later. After that, we go to the Explorers. We see that there is here another button saying Notice Explorer. And here we'll press Notification here and New Notice. And these steps are valid for any, not only for Earth station, are valid for CRC, for notification. Up to here is the same. Then you will choose what is the type of information you need to load. No, coordination request for a satellite network, a notification for Earth station, satellite network, API, radio astronomy, plans, etc. So up to here is the same. Then we click New Notice, and then depending on what we have chosen, we have to fill in all the fields required. In this case, for an Earth station, no, which are those parameters that I show here at the beginning. And on the left, we can see the reference to the Appendix 4 parameters. So now, once we have filled in all these parameters, we go to the space val. In space val, the first is we select the database, open, we select the station ID, it's automatically given, normally it's 1. We need to remember also this number because in the database, certainly we can have, as Rafael from Brazil was asking, we can have many filings, no? So his question was more related to the submission to ITU, but in the database, we can have many. So we remember this notice ID, and then we validate it. After that, we'll open the report, and we'll see in the report if there are some errors or not. There may be fatal or warning errors. The warning errors are not critical, but always before to submit, you have to check that there are no fatal errors. Otherwise, it will be returned. If there is an error, you have to correct it with the space cap and come back again to the space bar. Now, once you have processed this part of the exercise, you go to the GIBC Appendix 7. GIBC is used for many things. It's used to calculate PFD for GSO networks, for non-GSO, Appendix A for the coordination requirements for satellite GSO networks, PXT the same, and so on, for plans as well, and also for air stations. So in the case of air stations, we go here, we press tools, and we select the database. And this is normally the critical point when sometimes we make mistakes. So that's why we have to remember what is this database, the path. So we select here, browse, and then we go to Appendix 7 tab. Here we enter the station ID, I told you before. We press calculate, and you will see that start to run here, and it takes a little bit of time. For Appendix 7, it's not too much, but for the other cases, it may be a bit long. So that's why we don't do it online now. And then we press on report, and we'll see the reports with the coordination contours and the calculation. What do they look like? Like this one. So we have the first case when the horizon elevation was 0, and we can see the two different modes. In black is the mode 1, and in red is the mode 2. So if we modify the horizon elevation, if we play with that, what we can modify is the mode 1, but we cannot modify the mode 2. So in those cases, we can see that we need to, for this case, for example, this station in Costa Rica should coordinate with Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama, and a bit of Colombia. Sometimes when there is a very long distance, if this part is less than 5% of this distance under the specific rule of procedure of the Radio Regulation Board, the coordination is not required. So this also you can have a look. It's just to avoid these errors here. And if it is the case, you should include in the letter, no? But normally here you have to coordinate. So these are the coordination requirements. But what if when I see here, I mean, the coordination seems to be not feasible, or I realize that I didn't take into account the different, for example, buildings which were abstracting through here. Of course, they can't abstract too much because the satellite has to be visible. But if I need this specific or additional attenuation, let's say, so I can make an artificial shielding, or I can locate the station, my VSAT, in a way, just blocking through that countries. And I can see that here now, when I take into account the actual horizon elevation profile, the coordination with Honduras is not required anymore, neither with Colombia, let's say, no? So that's how you can play with the horizon elevation angle based on actual values, no? And reducing the coordination area. If this, as I said, this is only valid for mode 1, no? If this coordination area would be only inside one country, when that country is larger, you don't need to coordinate, you just submit under Article 11. So this is the result of the exercise. If you take this database and you come back to the horizon profile and you modify here all the data, and then you run again, you will see the differences in the diagram, no? So these are the two, 0.1, 0.0000000, 0.2 here, or 0.4 for the, we enter the actual values, or we located the station in another place which is shielded, for example. So in this case, it will give the modified coordination contour, and coordination is not required, and it's protected from those other additional countries, no, like here. The following is just the results, no, the report which is provided by the, with the list of affected countries provided by the Appendix 7. And well, this is a typical exercise we used to give in the regional seminars, and as I said, you can find the same coordination contours in the same report generated by Appendix 7, the result of this exercise, and also the input parameters in the same folder to be downloaded from the ITU website. No, and that's all for the exercise. And also, if there are further questions.
Right. Well, very good. Nadine from St. Vincent and the Grenadines is asking if you could get an example exercise for a receive-only Earth station. I suppose that would be very typical for us.
No, thanks for that, because in fact, let me check. I think this was already 4 gigahertz range. Let me remember. Yes, you see, this is a receiver. Receiving, is it in 4 gigahertz? Yes.
Okay.
So it is independent, in fact. You can have, for the same Earth station, you will have to trace 2 different contours. One is for the uplink, transmitting, and the other one for receiving. So this case was, in fact, the receiving Earth station. Okay, for the transmitting, I can tell you, sometimes you will find smaller, it's a higher frequency, you will find even a smaller coordination contour, which sometimes is not touching another country, as I said, no? So in those cases, it goes straight to notification. But this is a receiving Earth station. It's CBAN, no? It's not a small VSAT.
Right. Okay. Let me see what else might have come in. We talked about the contours. Akeem, are you there?
We can check with them in case.
Yeah.
I really don't. Yeah.
There's a question we answered earlier in terms.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Right. In terms of the difference between the IFIC and the SRS databases, I think the questioner understood your answer.
Yes. But I'll also give a written answer.
Okay. Well, if he's satisfied, I think I understand now. He was asking how many columns, you know, what's the difference in terms of how many columns are involved? Certainly the SRS would have everything. But
yes.
The IFIC, I guess, is just a little piece of showing the most recent changes. So yes. Is it a lot smaller? Do you have fewer columns? And that's.
I think it's almost the same table, and we are using the same table.
Okay. All right.
And I think the second question, Akeem, there was a question from Brazil. Do you remember?
Yes, I also answer, because we receive we received this question. Many administrations have sent this request. So ARP, our software department, is currently working on that. So we will solve this issue.
Thank you.
All right. I don't think I'm missing any.
Yes, there was also a question on ITU name. I also replied. If we can give assistance,
yes,
to find out the between the commercial name and ITU name. So we can help, but you can also consult the SRS MDB on the IFIC database, on the BRIFIC.
Then, as a follow-up to the request for example of the receive-only Earth station, which you answered, who would be the person responsible for the notice? I guess that means who would receive it?
No, it is always the notifying administration, no? So, of course, there is a field in the database about operating agency. So it can be, let's say, for example, one satellite operator, or it can be one TV broadcaster as well. For that, you have to define, the administration have to define in the preface all the list of operating agencies for your country. No? So if it is not already there, when you notify the station, you have to indicate, please, including the preface, and then this will be included in the field. But the responsible always for any filing or any notification to ITU is always the administration. No, these are the ITU member states. That's why the importance of for the member states, for administration to take care, and because at the end they are responsible of what is being operated.
Right. So I get, she explains that the specific issue is that they have an issue in St. Vincent with a receive station that is subject to terrestrial interference. And she was asking who should send the notice. And you're saying it's the St. Vincent administration that should send a notice?
Let me see if I understood well the question. So this administration who's asking is receiving interference? Or
yes.
They wish to, okay.
Actually, it's an interesting question. It says they have a receive station in St. Vincent that is subject to terrestrial interference, but she didn't mention if it was from outside of St. Vincent.
Okay, that's a good point because
right.
So ITU is for the international issues, no cross-border interference. If it happens that it's an interference within the country because by mistake it was located somewhere, etc., this has to be solved at national level. If it is originated from another country, in that case, we have a platform which we didn't have time, honestly, to present in the seminar, but we'll be presenting in the next seminar in Geneva, and it is already available in the website, which is called SEALS for satellite reporting, and the administration can report this interference case through that platform. No, okay. But that is for the administration which is affected.
Yes, her issue is from inside of St. Vincent, so it would have to be resolved at the national.
Yeah.
And the reason for her question was that the contour would have been from a provider outside of St. Vincent. So it's a national issue, but the data would have been provided from someone from outside of St. Vincent. But still, I think in terms of jurisdiction, it's a national jurisdiction rather than ITU.
You mean the content? Okay. No. It is. We are dealing with the sharing between services between one or two countries. No, so we are not dealing with the content. Let's say in ITU. So in that case, if it is between two countries because the interference is originated from another country, yes, but it doesn't matter if the content is national or international. Let's say.
Right, but I think in this case, both the receiving station and the interfering terrestrial one are within St. Vincent.
In that case, they have to refer to the regulator in the same country, in some.
Right. And I guess the clarification goes on.
Except if I mean, there are different scenarios. Not we should know more details of the case, but if the satellite network is from another country, if we are speaking about satellite network, and well, we need to see in that case. But if the transmitter is located in the same country than the receiver, in principle, well, it is a national issue.
Right, but whom can we communicate with in the BR to maybe clarify the details of this question?
To me, no problem. Yeah. They need to report an interference. In fact, I'm taking care of that. So I don't know if I included my email, but I can put it now in the chat also.
Yes, please put it in the chat. I'll ask that, Nadine, you provide Jorge the specifics of it, and we'll deal with it offline as we are at a little bit past our scheduled time right now.
Okay.
All right, I think I'd like to bring to a close this particular workshop session. Thank you very much to our Satellite Services Department personnel for your presentations, your answers, your cooperation today. thank you very much, in fact, to all the BR staff over the past 6 days now of this seminar so far. We've heard from terrestrial and satellite and the general staff as well, really giving us the background to the whole radio communication seminar and the workings of the radio regulations and so on. This kind of brings to an end I guess the more instructional part of the overall seminar. And from tomorrow, we'll be getting into the section that we call the forum, where we'll have a string of different panel discussions on different matters related to radio communications. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we will have 2 sessions. The first session will be on broadcasting, and with an emphasis on digital transition to digital broadcasting. And the second session, we'll be discussing satellite systems and looking at some of the new and emerging developments in satellite systems, where there is in fact a lot of innovation and new systems going into service. So we expect that we would have a very lively session tomorrow. For the rest of the week as well, we'll invite you all to come. We'll be looking in future days beyond tomorrow. Wednesday, we'll be looking at emergency communications and transportation systems like aeronautical and maritime and so on. On Thursday, we'll be looking at IMT and broadband systems and the issue of spectrum pricing. And then on Friday, we'll wind up with discussing some of the impacts of the outcomes from WRC 19 and look forward as well to what's going to happen in WRC 23 and how we plan in the interim for our own positions going forward. So I'll say thank you very much to all who have participated today. We didn't quite make 200 today, but we reached about 190 something. I expect in the forum, given the range of topics we have, we'll be back up to the high 200s, and please tune in again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time for the beginning of our forum session. So thank you very much, ITU, CTU support staff, and all the attendees. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.